Welcome back. Our scripture lesson this morning comes out of the first letter of Peter. We're reading chapter 1, verses 13 through 21. Peter writes, "Therefore prepare your minds for action. Discipline yourselves. Set all your hopes on the grace that Jesus Christ will bring you when he is revealed. Like obedient children, do not be conformed to the desires that you formerly had in ignorance. Instead, as he who called you is holy, be holy yourselves in all your conduct. For it is written, 'You shall be holy, for I am holy.' If you invoke as Father the one who judges all people impartially according to their deeds, live in reverent fear during the time of your exile. You know that you were ransomed from the futile ways inherited from your ancestors, not with perishable things like silver or gold, but with the precious blood of Christ, like that of a lamb without defect or blemish. He was destined before the foundation of the world, but was revealed at the end of the ages for your sake. Through him you have now come to trust in God, who raised him from the dead and gave him glory, so that your faith and hope are set on God." When I was a high school senior, I was faced with a terrible dilemma. I had my choice. I could go to study hall, or I could go out for the track team. I went out for the track team. I learned to run hurdles. I especially learned how to fall and roll so that I didn't tear up my body too badly. I didn't do real well, I confess. During one race, I got a third place. There were only 4 of us in the race, and one of the guys who was ahead of me got disqualified. So I came in third. But I remember well the importance of getting a good start. You have to get down in the blocks and get ready and wait. You had to be all scrunched up like a spring, ready to let go at the right time. If you let go too quickly, no, that's a false start. If you started too late, well, you had a lot of territory to make up. You had to be ready at the right moment. But life requires us to be ready, doesn't it? There are lots of things we need to get ready for. In the morning, we get ready for the day. At night, we get ready for bed. Get ready for work. Get ready for school. Get ready for play. Get ready to go to church. Get ready for this, that, and the other. And there are millions of things that we get ready for. Peter is writing these people in what is today modern Turkey. He's telling them to get ready for the Christian life. Get ready so that you can get a good start. Many believe this to be a baptismal service, getting ready for the Christian life. Just like a racer needs to be ready, on the mark and ready when the gun shoots off, so Christians need to be ready to live their lives for God. We're in a time in which we're starting a whole lot of things anew. We'll be worshiping in face masks. We'll be facing each other looking like bank robbers in our masks. We'll be starting a lot of things new. And so perhaps this sermon designed for those who are about to be baptized will help us as we start something new in our religious life. The literal translation of the first line talks about gird up your loins. That would be the literal translation. Many translations translate it differently, more meaningfully. Gird up your mind. Roll up your sleeves. Prepare yourself for action. The idea here is that we need to prepare ourselves. We need to get ready. We can't run the race ahead if we're tripping over our robes, tripping over our lives, tripping over our past. Be sober, some of the translations read. When we hear the word sober, we might think of a breathalyzer test, but that's not exactly what they're talking about here. Not having to do with your drinking, but with your mental attitude. Discipline yourselves. Put your mind in gear, one translation says. Don't get sidetracked. Focus, focus, focus. What are we to focus on? Set all your hope on God's grace. Be totally ready to receive the gift that's coming when Jesus arrives. That's the goal. That's the goal out front. That's the finish line. Don't look backwards. Don't look backwards. Don't return to your old life, to its old ways. It's easy to slip back into old habits, bad habits, evil habits. What we did in our ignorance before Christ came into our lives. I remember a sad incident in one of my basketball games. It was one of my responsibilities to make sure after the opponent scored that the ball got into our people safely. And I was to help if there was some problem. I forgot about it until I was running down the court one time. And I turned and looked back at me to see if they had gotten the ball in correctly. And lo and behold, I ran into one of my opponents. Literally ran into him. Looking back wasn't a good thing to do, as I'm sure that guy would tell you. We got to look down the track, so to speak. We have to look to the finish line. And in particular, we need to look to who has called us to be in this race, to be in this life. We got the call from God, Peter said. We got the call from God. God is at the finish line. Make your path toward God. God is in front of us. Live like God. That's our goal. God is holy. Holy means set apart, separate from humanity in the world that God created. Earlier, Peter has already identified his audience as strangers and aliens, people who are set apart from the culture, from the society in which they live. So Peter is calling us to live a life shaped by God's life. God is holy. This is a quote out of the book of Leviticus. We don't usually look much at Leviticus, but it has some real good sayings sometimes. Chapter 19 is full of them. Begins with a statement that we should be holy because God is holy. be holy in all our conduct and in our behavior. And it gives a lot of examples of how we should be holy. We should respect our parents, and on Mother's Day, that comes as a reinforcement, I hope, for you and your lives. Also talks about when you harvest your fields, leave some of the grain there for the poor and needy. Talks about treating aliens and sojourners, strangers, properly, just like you treat one another. Be holy in all our conduct. We are to live a life, as one interpreter has said, a life energetic and blazing with holiness. The finish line is in front of us. Our hope is before us. Let us not look back. The glorious hope at the finish line is made possible by Jesus' death and resurrection. Too many Christians skip over Good Friday and go right to the resurrection. Good Friday was a time of suffering. It was a time of death. It was also a time where Jesus sacrificed his life for us and for our salvation. Without the cross, there is no resurrection. Many people not only skip over Good Friday, but they teach a cross-less Christianity. A Christianity in which Christians aren't called to bear a cross. But Jesus tells us quite succinctly to take up our cross and follow him. Peter seems to be saying, being holy like God, we need to carry a cross. We need to carry a burden. We need to have obligations upon ourselves, which are not simply our own interest. The future is in God. This is the God who allowed Jesus to be sacrificed on that cross, who allowed Jesus' blood to spill for us and for our salvation. As we get ready, as we face the path ahead of us, as we prepare for the life of a Christian, a new Christian, a Christian in a new environment, we need to set our faith and hope on God, who provides that hope through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Thank you.